Now we live. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm here with my boy CJ, my cousin Jason, who is just gonna refer to himself as Jay. We're gonna talk about the Canelo and our Charlo matchup. We're gonna do a preview of that. We're gonna do predictions, and we're gonna, talk about Lubin and boxing overall. So we're gonna have a good time here. 60, maybe 90 minutes, and we're gonna get through it. So let's just start. So CJ, just introduce yourself briefly, and after him, we'll go to Jason. Don't have to be nothing complicated. Just brief introduction.
Yeah, I'm CJ Burney. I'm coming at you from Denver, Colorado, uh, formerly Detroit, Michigan. Uh, Met John on Twitter, and since
Yeah,
then we've been boxing brothers.
yeah, for
So I'm
real,
glad
for
to be
real.
here. Glad to give my input, man. See what you guys are talking about today.
All right, I love it, love it. Jason, go ahead and drop things. Do a little brief intro.
I got you, Jason Herndon. I'm from Chicago. This is my cousin right here. We linked up on boxing Twitter. Got the same last name in the same neighborhoods. We've been tight for a couple of years running now. So,
Yep.
yeah, I always appreciate the boxing convo. I boxed amateur for a while. I've been following the game all my life, it seems like, since Sugar Ray Leonard and those four horsemen. So, yeah, I like to consider myself a student of the game, and I love conversation. Ready to get in?
All right, let's go, let's go. All right. So wait a minute, Jason. I'm hearing a kickback. Is there another video? You have something on the phone or anything? Because I'm hearing a little audio kickback.
I hope not. Um,
You just got the computer on, right? You don't have it on your phone.
I have it on my phone now.
You have it on your phone and you're on your
Phone.
phone.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right, strictly. Okay, all right. So we're gonna just start it off, gentlemen. We know the big fight that is gonna be coming up Saturday night. So we're gonna give you a general feel, and then we're gonna break down to X and O's. My cousin love to deal with X and O's. So I'm gonna start off with CJ. But the overall, were you guys actually surprised that this particular fight was going to happen? Because we was under the impression that it seemed like it was going to be Big Charlo as opposed to Little Charlo. So going right now off of it, how did you feel about the initial announcement of the fight?
The initial announcement, I never thought it was going to be the bigger Charlo.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
I always thought if Canelo was going to fight one of the Charlos, it would be the smaller Charlo. I'm not trying to say the bigger Charlo isn't a great fighter like his brother, but one guy has an all or nothing kind of attitude toward boxing. The other guy seems to be safeguarding his championship. So if it was ever going to happen between one of them, I thought it would be the smaller one, but I still never thought the fight would happen.
Oh, okay. All
I
right,
never, I never thought it would happen.
I get you. I get you. Jason.
Yeah, I don't think that camp necessarily. I've seen many Canelo opposition or opponents hold out for fights for 6 months, hold out for a year, sit on the sideline, babysit the belt, and then get the call eventually. So this has been the walk that Canelo has. When you're that cash cow, people want to safeguard their spot. And I felt like the big Charlo just made more sense, just schematically, size-wise. But also, yeah, I just expected it to be the big one. I thought he won the championship. This going up two weight classes and being competitive is not something we see regularly. So I rarely think about somebody skipping a weight class and going straight into a championship bout. So yeah, I didn't have any thought about the little one. I like the matchup, but yeah, I wasn't expecting it by any means.
Okay, I mean, and then kind of semi have history because I remember at one time when Charlo, when Canelo was at 154, I think Charlo was his mandatory or the number one contender, but it just didn't happen. So now it's going to happen years later. I'm gonna ask you, gentlemen, do you think there is a size difference, or is that just a narrative being played? Jason, you can start. We're gonna go back to CJ.
I don't think Charlo's a little man at all. But I do think that Canelo's accustomed to this weight. He's been here for so long that it is going to make a difference in what he's able to stand up to. Like I feel like his punch resistance is just going to be stronger because he's been dealing with light heavyweights. He's been dealing with super middleweights for years now. It's going to be something new for Maul. So I feel like just the experience at the weight does make a difference, but the actual size, I feel like Maul might show up bigger in the ring on the night of the fight. I feel like size-wise, he can get into a big weight, but he's just not used to that type of punishment that he's going to get.
Oh, okay, punishment. CJ?
I kind of feel the same way, but the way I look at Canelo is this, man. Canelo went up in weight, but he didn't go up in quality of opponent.
When you say, I'm sorry, cutting you off. When you say going up in weight, you mean throughout his career, gradually?
Exactly. Okay. As he's gotten to super middle, as he's gotten to light heavy, the quality of opponent hasn't gone up. He cleaned out a division that needed to be cleaned out. He should have cleaned it out.
At 168.
Exactly. He
Okay.
should have. There was no opposition at 168 for him that he actually fought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when he got up to light heavyweight, he found out, you can't beat everybody based on reputation. Some guys you got to really fight. So I wonder if the going up and going down is going to affect him, and who will be the bigger, stronger man? The man that's naturally a 6 foot, long rangey guy, or will Canelo be able to bring back the Canelo from before? He hasn't fought it. When's the last? 6 months ago he fought?
Yeah, 6 months ago he fought. But you know what the major thing is? Most of the time he has fought bigger men, so he's always had a speed advantage. This time he's going to fight somebody that is perceived as being smaller, that's probably going to have more of a speed and quickness advantage. But I think the last time he did fight was 6 months ago. That was, what was his opponent, Jason? I forgot that. The guy
Ryder.
Yeah. That was kind of like a tune-up. He didn't look as sharp, and I've also think he's been a slight decline. Now, how much of a decline he's in, I guess we're gonna find out Saturday night.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're both the same age, man. I think Maul's a month older than Canelo, so they're right about the same age, man. But one guy
Canelo been boxing.
I was gonna say Canelo got 60 pro fights under his belt.
Yeah, he do.
He's 40. He's 40 in fight years.
He has a lot of fights in him. I think there has been some slight decline in him. I don't know if Maul is going to be able to take advantage. We'll see if that is the case. Do you guys think there's any type of decline in Canelo, or do you think Maul is coming up, or do you think that's just a narrative that's just hearsay because of the length of the fights, or maybe the styles that Canelo have dealt with as opposed to what Maul has dealt with?
I think so personally, I feel like Canelo is a master strategist when it comes to who he fights and picking fighters that complement his style well. Bivol was not a good choice at all, but typically he fights fighters that allow him to plant his feet. He fights fighters that allow him to be at a distance that he's comfortable at. I think he's done that consistent ever since he went through these snipers who want to box and move, and he wasn't winning convincingly when he was fighting Trout, when he was fighting them boys and they were moving and giving him problems. I think he made a decision at that point. I'm going to fight dudes that are going to be they're going to be stationary. I need to be able to set my feet and hit you. I think that's he's declined a bit, but when you have fighters in that mold, you don't have to change up that much. He's been allowed to set his feet. He's been allowed to not have to use his footwork. And so it's a little bit of decline. Charlo is, like you said, a different type of fighter. Like Charlo is very athletic. I want to get into the footwork later, but
we'll get to that.
Yeah, I don't know how scientific Charlo is with his footwork. I don't know how much he's going to challenge him, but I do feel like there's going to be an athleticism advantage for Charlo for sure.
Yeah, and all the reason I point to the decline with Canelo, I remember before he used to be more of a rapid combination puncher, and now he seems like he loads up on one shot, two shot, which we'll be able to see whether or not the little Charlo, the other twin, can be able to deal with it. What do you think, CJ? Do you think there is a decline there, or do you think that's just a narrative being pushed out there?
I think there's definitely been better versions of Canelo. Canelo is not still at his apex. I mean, but that happens with all fighters. I mean, 90% Canelo is still better than, 90% of the fighters out there. So, I mean, we're kind of splicing it. But the thing I look at is this: is Canelo really ready to be in a war?
You think
I
that
mean,
you think Charlo's going to fight him that way?
I think he won't have any choice.
I
I don't think Canelo's coming in there to outboxing and go long and then go into the late rounds with him. I don't think that's what Canelo wants to do.
So you think he's going to press him?
I absolutely think he's going to press him, and that's why I say, man, you'll know early in the fight. I think we'll know early in the fight if Canelo wants to smoke. We'll know, because everything you see in both the Charlos is when they're cornered, they come out banging.
Yeah, they definitely fight.
They are not runners.
Yeah.
I think the younger twin moves a little bit better, but I do think they're both violent by nature. They have a tendency to be violent by nature.
Exactly, and I think it like Canelo's last few fights, and I'm like, Bival's the only guy to really trade with him and push him backwards.
Yeah, but I think that was. Do you think that was more so with his size, more so than with a violence? Because it seemed like he was boxing him more.
Definitely not violence, just with size and length.
Okay,
right. So he hasn't had a fight since Triple G.
That's true.
I mean, and then you have to ask yourself, who do you believe is the harder puncher? You think Charlo's a harder puncher than Triple G at this point? Definitely the second fight he had with Canelo, the third fight he had with Canelo.
I'll say this about Charlo. That's very surprising. Before we noticed he was never really a big time puncher, and now he developed more and more into a fighter. I think not only is he a puncher, but he's a sharpshooter, and he usually hurts people late. He has surprising power. He's similar to, I ain't talking overall skill, but he's similar to Bud in the sense that he seems to be able to hit you in key vital areas, and he seemed to be able to do it late. The only problem, a lot of fights he's been outboxed, and I think he's lost. So it's like Canelo has a great chin. So I don't know if you want to get behind him 7 rounds. So I'm wondering if Charlo's going to have to be a little bit different than what he has been in the past, meaning is not give away rounds. Because like the Tony Harris fight, I thought he was losing. I thought what was the guy that he fought last time? His last fight for the unification fight. Costanza. I thought in the first Costanza fight, it was kind of nip and tuck, and everything I saw Costanza do, I was like, well, Canelo does all of that, but he does it better. Except, probably not as many combination punches at this time, but he has a need that. So I'm just wondering if Charlo's going to allow himself to get behind and have to think he can rely on his power late. That could make things interesting.
I love Charlo's power. I feel like the one thing I don't like you mentioned Bud earlier, Bud seems to plan his power.
Yes.
Charlo seems to respond with emphasis. He could respond in a meaningful way.
Right.
He's not setting the table. He's getting pushed into a corner and punching off the ropes. You know what I mean? He's getting pushed around a bit, and he gets hit flush. Like, he gets hit flush every fight. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen him have a defensive masterpiece. Like, he's out here getting touched. And this ain't the type of fighter you want to get touched with. Like, I understand you believe in your counterpunching ability. I understand you believe in your resiliency, but you don't just want to put your chin on a plate for this man. Like, it's not going to look good. It's not going to end well if you don't have defensive responsibility. And that's like, I've been watching a couple of his fights this week, and I'm seeing it consistently. Like, he gets in the pocket and he's waiting for his chance, but he's sacrificing his defense in the meantime. And that's just not a formula for success at this top elite level. This ain't the formula.
I agree with you on that. So do you believe Charlo can hurt Canelo?
Yeah.
I absolutely believe he can hurt Canelo. Absolutely.
I mean, where's the last time Canelo's been like that you guys have visibly thought he was hurt?
Really hurt?
Yeah, I mean, like really hurt. Stunned is one thing. I mean, but hurt.
Because I don't think Bivol hurt him. He frustrated him. I
don't think
he frustrated Canelo, but I don't think he hurt him.
Right. That's the thing that worries me only going into this fight is that, like you said, he usually responds as opposed to he's kind of setting traps. to
Right.
get and so I mean any man can be hurt, but I'm just wondering, can he hurt him throughout this fight significantly? Like, remember the Tony Harris fight? I
Right.
thought he was losing that like clean. I thought
Yeah.
he was losing that. I don't think it was close as most
The
people
second
thought.
fight,
Yeah, the second. I
Yeah.
thought Tony was pushing him back. He was
Tony's
having
a
his
better
way.
boxer than he is.
Yes, he is, and
So,
he
Tony
just
Harrison.
could.
Detroit's own Tony Harrison. Let me get it right.
Oh, you ordered that.
and
And I just thought that
He-
he got clipped, and I'm like, man, if he had a chin to hold up, I thought he won that fight going away. It's the same thing with the kid he fought before. I agree with you, Jason. He was getting touched by a guy who's, I think he shouldn't be getting touched by. It was just like, man, you too skilled, you too athletic. So I'm wondering about. I do agree with you. I think his violent mindset, and I don't know if he can just suddenly turn into a boxer. I can't recall the last time he just like strictly outboxed somebody.
no. And to get to your question though, in terms of hurting him, like the one of the knocks Canelo has, I say he has two major flaws. First of which being his footwork is not stellar. He needs to set a punch. He's not going to go in and out with you. He's not going to dance. He needs to set. That's his first flaw. Secondly, we've seen him gas out late in the fight. We've seen it multiple times. And the one thing Jermell does not. Jermell is a super athlete. He don't even remind me of a boxer. He reminds me of just an athlete who happens.
Right.
Like he's not going to gas out. And if he feels like it's even close, if Canelo gives him a glimmer of hope, like his athleticism is going to kick in the 11th round, in the 12th round, and he's going to fight. He's the Lions only. He believes that.
No, that's true. But you know what? I agree with you. But I've never seen anybody willing to risk and try to push Canelo, because I do think he hits hard.
Yeah.
I think he's very a lot of, even when the Triple G fight, the second one, there were times where I was like, he has to fight more like a savage and kind of push him over. But he was mindful because he knew if he went in, the body shots and all of that. And I'm wondering if Mel is willing to like go places he ain't never been. Because I think to really get him, you either got to be skilled like Bivol, or you got to be willing to be a savage. And that means you got to take more than you've ever took before to try to push him over. I don't know if he's going to be that he's capable of doing that without getting something in return. But you are right. He does gas out. Do you think he should carry him hard?
I don't think, like, I was kind of proud of the way Caleb Plant approached his fight. Until the end of the fight, he didn't change who he was. People had all these different ideas, and Caleb Plant went into the fight saying, this is how I fight. I'm going to lock this down. I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. And he had some success versus Canelo. I think if Charlo tries to change everything about himself for this fight, it's going to end up terrible. Because that's
a subtle change. I'm not saying he has to be a master of boxing. I'm just saying maybe you want to start a little early.
And it sounds good, but he's a counter puncher by nature. And when he does attack, he attacks off the jab. And Canelo is the best in the fight game at countering a jab. That's his superpower. Like if you throw out a jab, he will counter it. He'll time your jab early and often. So I don't see Charlo having a varied attack to lead with. Now, in the counter game, he got every punch in the world.
Right.
To lead with, he's a jab, a 1-2 guy. And Canelo eats that for breakfast. Like he'll counter your jab. Even if you're disciplined. Triple G has one of the best jabs we've seen in a while. He got countered with his jab. It's like
he did, but that Triple G to me was more like a aged version of Chavez. You remember how Chavez was more when he fought Frankie Randall? He had a great chin. You know, he had a jab. And I thought Triple G's attack wasn't as varied, and he wasn't willing to kind of take some punishment. Also, I think he had been a little bit to the mountaintop. When you look at Mel, like when we really break him down, he's either been compared to his big brother or he's been compared to his stablemate.
Yeah.
Now, stablemate, we already saw what happened with that. And his brother's going through trouble. So it just like, it makes me think of that Rocky 3, There Is No Tomorrow. This is like his real big moment.
Oh, for sure.
Now, man, I don't know how he's going to react, but he can erase being the little brother. He can erase the stablemate. he can do something that hasn't been done probably since. No, Bernard Hopkins didn't even do it when he went up 2 weight classes. I don't think it was some unification. He has a chance to do history. If he wins this, he's a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer based on what it is to get into the Hall of Fame. This is like his moment.
And then just the financial aspect, like just the financial aspect alone. If you could get a trilogy out of Canelo, if he wins this fight and could get 3 fights, that's $100 million potentially. Like that's
but you know what? I gotta get with the Charlo brothers. They don't talk about all that money. Like they don't really talk about money. They talk about supporting family, but they don't be like, oh, money this, money that. But it's bigger than that though. Because if he beats him, Bud, he's gonna look at Bud. I think. I mean that's something else entirely. I mean, I just think that's something else entirely, another discussion. But if he beats him, I don't know if he rematches with him. I think he looks towards Bud.
Yeah, I agree when you say this is his time. I mean, there is no other time. A year from now, people will talk about, oh, Canelo was getting old. I mean, this is the best time right now. Nobody's saying Canelo's washed.
Nope.
So what he does and what he takes out of it is what he's earned. And you're right, it does move him ahead of a lot of people. A lot of people keep both these brothers on the outside of the top 10 because they don't have a signature win. They haven't beaten somebody else that's in the top 20 of all boxing, of the pound for pound. If you had a pound for pound top 20, do they have a win in that group? And they don't. Neither one of them do.
No,
they don't. They don't. But just for me as a purist, I give a lot of credit when guys clean out divisions. Like when they clean out divisions. I mean, I'm not saying everybody he fought at 154 was killers.
Right. Some divisions more difficult to clean out than others.
Oh, absolutely. Because depending on your option. But I do like seeing guys do that, and I like seeing guys try to take that achievement and go about doing it. So I give him that. But I agree. He hasn't fought like there's nobody. I think the highest caliber guy is Tony Harris, maybe.
I like that he goes back and beats up the people that you question him about. You question him about Harris. You wouldn't beat Harris's ass.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't get a tune-up. He went right back to him.
You question him about Castano. Man, did he go back and beat Castano down?
Yeah, he did.
Sure. I wish he was just with the first fight.
Castano was up though for that fight. He was highly motivated himself.
He was looking good till he wasn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true.
He's not a terrible fighter. I like what he brought to the table. Like that style, just the style alone can cause people trouble who ain't seen it before.
Right. And you have your conditioning. And he did push him. He pushed him. He really forced him to. He earned that. He definitely earned that. But yeah, I do think it's like super, super major for him. Do you think there is also with the trainers? Well, we'll think of Derrick James. Do you think this is a big moment for Derrick?
I think it's a big fight. I mean, from the outside looking in, it may look like he's at a crossroads, but I feel like he's been in the game for a while. Like he's built fighters up to excellence.
Right.
Like he's put in enough work. Well, he may stop getting the big name transfers. He might not get the transfer portal anymore, but he knows how to build up a fighter. Like he knows how
if he wins this, he will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if he doesn't win this, back to Texas. We getting these Texas fighters, and that's
it. he still got AJ.
Yeah,
he got AJ for now.
Can't keep losing, man. AJ ain't loyal. AJ.
No. Well, yeah, boxers do change it up. They do change it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll talk predictions and strategy. CJ, you don't have to say your out prediction at first, but how do you think the fight is going to play out?
I think this fight doesn't go the distance. I think and I'm not saying Canelo's going to knock out Charlo.
I don't know who he was picking.
I think there will be a point in this fight where both fighters become desperate. Both fighters realize they got into something maybe neither one of them wanted, and who's got the most down the stretch. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, man. I'm leaning toward Jermell Charlo, man. I am. I'm leaning toward him to be the Terry Norris for Canelo.
He has some Terry Norris.
I know.
His chin is better. I think his chin, the way he reacts to punches is much better.
I'm saying he may do to Canelo what Terry Norris did to Sugar Ray.
I love it. I love it.
Oh wow. That's
Sometimes athleticism, man, when you get to that age, man, that's the thing. And heart will be what carries you. Canelo beat a lot of dudes up, man, but sooner or later it runs out.
Do you think Mel applies his athleticism the right way?
I think you talk about how Mel can't get down early. I think there's a scenario where Mel fights his regular fight, just like he always fights, and just keeps turning up the energy, round after round after round. And late in the fight starts to turn.
So it's during this time, do you think he's going to have to lead?
No, absolutely not. No. He will not have to lead. He just has to go in there and trade. That's what's going to make it. He's going to go out on his shield or he's going to win it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, there will not be any high-level boxing in this match from Charlo.
You expect violence.
It has to be. I don't care if he's undisputed or not. He is not on the same level technically as Canelo Alvarez. He's just not. He's not on the same level technically. It's not a shot at him.
Right.
It's not saying he's a bad fighter. He's undisputed. But like they say, there's levels of this. And Canelo is a better technical fighter than he is. The question becomes, which Canelo do we get? And which Charlo do we get? Do we get the one fighter still ascending and the other fighter on the way down? Or does the guy stay on top that's been pretty much the pound for pound king for most of the last decade anyway?
So wait a minute. Who's your pick here then? Is it Canelo?
I'm still picking Charlo. I'm definitely picking Charlo. I am.
Okay,
when it comes down, if he can make it to the late rounds, when it comes to who's got the gas tank left and who's still got late round power, I think Canelo will be in trouble.
And you predicting this by knockout?
I'm predicting finish late by Charlo.
Okay, so it's a stoppage late. Okay, all right. Hey, I love it. Well, all right. Jason.
Yeah. To me, I watched both of their fights. I've seen them both fight for years. It's gonna be a matter of footwork. I don't think the reach for Charlo is gonna make as much of a difference as it could. He doesn't fight that way. I think if Canelo's able to get set within his distance, it's gonna be a long night for Charlo. I feel like because Canelo doesn't overcommit in a way where he leaves himself vulnerable for counters. So Canelo is very judicious with his inches. Like I'm gonna punch you in the exact amount of space I need. I'm not gonna overextend an inch. I'm not gonna come up short an inch. I'm surgical with it. It's why he sacrificed his combinations. He doesn't throw combinations anymore because he throws precise punches, and he doesn't put himself in position to look bad like he did versus Floyd or versus Alara. Like now, everything he throws is exact. Maul is not an exact fighter. He's just not. He's very skilled, very athletic, but he's gonna depend on Canelo to make a mistake. Like you were saying, CJ, he's not. I don't think he could win a technical fight with him. I don't think he has that in his arsenal. And it's rare that you can make Canelo get out of his box unless you use athleticism and footwork. That's going to be the key. That's how I've seen him lose. Every time he's lost, it's been because you used athleticism, you used footwork, you didn't let him set, and you be there when he set. So
he's only lost twice.
And he's had some questionable ones now.
I mean, officially.
He had two official ones, and it's fights that highlighted his flaws. So I'm not saying they're losses, but that Lara fight was not him at his best. The Austin Trout fight was not him at his best. Granted, this is many years ago, but these were the last times he fought athletic fighters.
But you know what, though? I will piggyback on that. Lara, to me, is a much better boxer than Charlo is, and I think Trout is as well.
For sure. It's the footwork. I mean, Canelo has every punch. Canelo's not a flawed offensive fighter. It's just his feet are stuck in the mud. Like Canelo got us set to throw a punch. As a trainer, if I'm training a fighter, I'm just looking at his feet. I might not even watch any punches. Just look at this man's feet. Like he has to be set. And like if I'm walking in, I'm talking to him, I'm saying, listen, don't let this man set at all. but it just hasn't been his style. I haven't seen it. I think it's a clear-cut game plan, but I haven't seen him fight in a way where he tries to pick the other fighter's feet up. If anything, he fights you in so he could counter you. But he's not taking away your offense.
So do you think Canelo's going to initiate to get him to counter?
I think Canelo's going to get in his space. So Canelo's going to get in space so that he could throw, but he's not going to get in with a 3-punch combination. He might get in with a jab to the body. He might get in just bullying his way in, seeing if he can just walk in. Some fighters will just give you that space, especially somebody who feels like they can counter you. Some people don't challenge you for that space.
Right.
That's Charlo's game, to challenge those small inches. Charlo wants you to overreach, then I'm gonna sting you on the back end. Or he wants to catch you in the middle of your action, but he's not fighting over those inches. And in Canelo's mind, each second, each inch of that ring is valuable. He wants to be in his range and have you out of your range. And I feel like he does that more consistently, more reliably than I've seen Charlo demand that space. So because of that, I got Canelo. I think Canelo's gonna, and also if it goes to a decision, even if it's 8-4, Charlo, I think Canelo's gonna get the decision. So, I'm telling you right now, but it can't go to decision. If it goes to decision, it's Canelo.
I think if it goes to decision, he has to get some knockdowns. He got to bloody him. He has to.
Yeah.
It has to be visibly in a way that you're just like he's winning for it to be that way. It's real tough to beat him in a decision. Another thing we didn't bring up, I do think I think Canelo is a much more better defensive fighter than Bell is. Yeah. He'll go from his defense to his offense much better. He has some James Toney in his game. I think that's going to be a problem Saturday night for Mel, because I do think he overcommits. Like at times he overcommits, and also even though I think and he could prove me wrong. I hope he do. I think his nature, just like his brother, is violence. I think he is looking. And the one thing it reminds me of, and I'm not saying Canelo's Floyd Mayweather, but sometimes fighters think fighting him harder is the way to beat him. And it's not like that. I always think you have to have a game plan. I think you got to have a strategy when you're fighting at this level. I think, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I honestly thought the bigger brother would be the more difficult one, because I think he does go forward. He's longer. His jab works. And I also thought he's not as basic. I think Mel's gonna have a problem come Saturday night. I do think it's gonna be competitive in moments, but the one thing I want to see is how Mel catches with him, like the first clean shot he gets, because that last fight he had, he was getting catch clean by a guy who I didn't really consider a big puncher, and he hurt him.
Yeah,
he hurt him in multiple times. Now he recovered, got great stamina, but the difference is Canelo doesn't stay there for the receipt. He will punch, get out, or either he will go in a way that he will go with his defense to get back to his offense. But I want to see it. I'm gonna be rooting for Charlo. I think this is a great opportunity for him. But something just tells me, man, it will end in a knockout, but I have a feeling it's gonna go the other way. That's just something that I just see. I just think it's gonna be that way. I think both guys are gonna be highly motivated. But I'm sorry, Jason, what was your prediction? You didn't give me your prediction. I cut you off.
Prediction, I would say, I don't think Canelo is going to stop him. I think that Charlo is very athletic. I feel like as a man, he's a big man. I think it'll be hard for him to stop him. But I think it's going to be a decision. But I think I got Canelo by decision. What I do look forward to is like Charlo's superpowers. He's a dog. He's resilient. He gets hit, and his response is, I don't want this again. I'm going to hurt you. I'm getting my lick back times 2. So with that energy, like, he's going to get hit, and I don't expect him to cower. I don't expect him to be scared.
Well, I don't.
With that level of athleticism, Canelo's never seen that type of athleticism since. Yeah, he hasn't seen it. At 6'1", maybe walking in the ring at 170.
Wait a minute. You don't think Caleb was athletic?
Not like no.
Really?
Twitchy wise, no, not at all. I think he's longer. I think like physical, like if you look at the numbers, he's taller, maybe longer. But in terms of like athleticism, like I think Maul could probably do a windmill and dunk. Like I think Maul could probably run like fast. He's like just an all-around athlete. I don't think Caleb's athletic like that. I think he's a speed boxer. He's the opposite of what I think Charlo is.
I mean is I think both of them are athletes. I just think Maul is violent, and I don't think Caleb is. Like,
true.
I
Caleb's
think
a boxer.
he a boxer by nature.
Boxer.
But even then, though, it's like, remember when Floyd got stunned by Shane? Y'all all remember that?
Yeah.
He bit down and was like, all right, and he fought. He still had violence in it. Caleb doesn't do that. Like if Caleb gets hurt, he's still going to boxing. When Maul gets hurt, he going to violence. He's gonna do that. And that's the reason why I think that's gonna be his undoing.
And that's where his athleticism is channeled to. So that's the other point. So like, yeah, Caleb got hurt. He went back to boxing. Charlo's putting all that athleticism in violence.
True.
Like he's gonna throw huge shots.
Yes, he is. This should be the best Canelo fight we've seen in a long time. Like, what was the last violent guy he fought? As much I'm a big Triple G fan, but I just thought he left stuff out there. Like there were moments where I was just like, "Are you gonna push through?"
Right.
And I agree with you. I think Charlo is. He's gonna try to get some to take some. I mean, I just believe that. I believe that. So what's your prediction? You're gonna give me a prediction?
Yeah, Canelo decision.
Oh, Canelo decision.
Yeah.
All right.
Canelo
all right. So we have that out the way. So just general boxing terms, I'm gonna ask you guys this because of all the stuff that's gone on this year. Who's the best fighter in the world?
You know who I'm gonna say. I'm gonna let you.
I don't know who you're gonna say.
You should know.
All right, so you're gonna go second. CJ, right now, best fighter in the world.
Terrence Bud Crawford.
All right, Terrence Bud Crawford. I already know my cousin Jason, but the world don't know. So Jason can just
that emotion.
Okay, so CJ, why is Bud Crawford the best fighter in the world?
Well, there's a lot of reasons he's the best fighter in the world, but the main reason is he's been tied with another guy at pound for pound top for most of the last 3 years, and he knocked that guy out. So based on that, him destroying number two, and he did. He destroyed him if you have him number two, if you had Spence number two or not anyway.
You mean number two pound for pound?
Right.
Okay. Did you have Spence as number two pound for pound for your own personal list?
No, I had him number 3 pound for pound.
Who's number two?
Well, Inoue was number 2.
Okay.
I already had Bud pound for pound the best in the world before he beat Spence.
And so nothing has changed for you.
Exactly. All that did is bolster his claim. He was already there for me.
Got you. Yeah, I don't even have, but I want Jason to talk. I already know where he's going, but everybody else don't know.
Yeah, I think like I'm a student of the game. When I'm watching boxing, I'm watching very specific things. I'm watching how you move, how you pivot around the ring. I'm watching how your defense transitions to your offense. And it's like he has so many different tools in his toolbox that are excellent. Not just average, not just good. Excellent. Like I can look at Canelo and say, you have poor feet. I can say it anytime. I can look at Canelo and say, you don't throw combinations. Bud has won in so many different fashions. And he does the same formula. Like you can't knock it anymore. Like he's gonna take 4 rounds to figure you out, and then he's gonna start to destroy you.
He didn't do it in the last fight though. he didn't take 4 rounds to do it. He took 4 seconds. He laid his case.
I feel like that's a bad matchup.
No, I hear you, man. He did 2 things in that fight I had never seen him do before, at least not for any length of time. And one was his jab work in that fight was excellent. Fantastic. I mean, I had never seen him control a fighter with the jab the way he did in the Spence fight. And the second thing, and I think I talked to you about this before, John, I had never seen him using the Philly shell before in a fight.
Right.
And at one point he switched to that, and Spence couldn't do anything with him. He couldn't even land a punch on him when he went to the shell. So I mean, he like you said, he has a huge toolkit. You know, and he's fought guys bigger than him now. He's fought guys smaller than him now. He's fought the quick guys now. He's fought the hard punchers, and he's walked through everybody. You know,
and you know what? I talked to my cousin Jason, and I said, Gamboa is somewhere in the world right now.
Don't bring up Gamboa. You know how I feel.
Hold on. No, I don't know entirely. Hold on. What I mean by this is, and Gamboa can tell his grandkids, I'm the only guy to give that guy his toughest fight.
I will listen to no Gamboa slander. I get so sick of people.
I'm not slandering.
I know you're not.
Yeah,
I know you're not. But I get so sick of people acting like Terrence Crawford beating Gamboa was nothing. You know, or Tank beating Gamboa. Oh, look, Tank beat him. Bro.
Yeah, but that was a fade at Gamboa.
Gamboa is excellent. He got like 3 losses, man. That's it.
Yeah, but
people talk about him like he's a gatekeeper, man. It's crazy.
No, not during the time when he fought Bud. That was his toughest fight.
International pedigree. Like, Gamboa, and he dropped Bud. It's not even like it was a boring fight. Like, he dropped Bud. He had Bud on the ropes.
And then not only that, I thought he was winning real clean the first 4 rounds. I'm not lying. I was looking at it like, I was like, okay, is the speed just too much for him, or is he going to be able to adjust to it eventually? Yeah, because he was winning clean until Bud switched, and then things just started to go for the wrong way. But yeah, Gamboa can hold his hat and say, look, I gave him the tough, which Terrence to this day has always said. He was like, that's my toughest fight. Yeah, that was real tough. That was real tough. Were you more surprised with Bud beating Spence or Inoue beating Fulton?
Personally, I wanted Fulton to win.
I know you did. We talked about it.
I picked Fulton to win. Yeah, so I thought he was going to win. I felt like it was going to be a tough task for him. I did not rule out the fact that he would get knocked out. I ruled out the fact that Spence would get beaten up like he did. Like, I thought it wasn't going to be competitive.
I know. That's why you on here, because now if you say it now, people gonna think you full of shit. But no, we talked about it the day of the fight. We've been talking about this fight with Spence and Bud for since we connected.
Yeah, for sure.
And my thing was always like, well, I don't know, because I'm like, anything can happen in a fight. A guy can get an orbital bone broke. Strategies can go out the window. We just don't know. But to the credit, I've always told everybody about this. I'm like, Jason is the only person. I've talked to some like professional trainers, boxers. Everybody was 50-50. This person or this person. Jason is the only person said it's gonna be easy. But he was so agitated with everybody because Bud is his boy. You know, he was thinking I was on Team Spence. Like, every time we talk about the fight, I would say something. He was like, yeah, you're gonna be disappointed. And I'm like, dude. I'm like,
internet had you down.
I'm not picking anybody. I'm like, I'm cool with whoever. I'm like, I just want to see a really good fight. Nah, watch what's gonna happen. It's gonna be easy. I was like, and the night it was, he called me up, and I was like, man, you called it. He really called. He called it. He didn't necessarily call it completely, but he was on the difference between the styles, how it would play out. I don't remember him saying he would knock him out per se, but he could have. But he said it would be easy, and it was.
I thought the size was gonna make a difference. Like, the one thing I feel like people have always said or have said multiple times is Terrence is not that big, but he's stronger than everybody he's been in the ring.
Yeah, but you know what though? I'm gonna say something about the size thing. I never thought about it at that time, but Terrence, Manny Pacquiao, and Bernard Hopkins, like at the weights that they seem to may have been their apex, I think they were actually all three much bigger than what they appear to be because they're pugilists. They train year round. I don't want to put Floyd in because Floyd progression through weight was a little bit different. These dudes just jumped weights and moved up. So when I really look at it, especially the night of the fight, Terrence looks much bigger than he appeared to be. It's the same thing when Bernard went from 160 to 175. And it's like, dude, he only 160 because this dude runs all the time. Same thing with Crawford, a pugilist. At one point, I did think when Spence fought Lamont Peterson, that version, he was much more physically bigger and at his apex. But I don't even know if that version, it probably would have been a little bit more competitive, but all hats off to Bud. Yeah, you was right. You called it. You called it. Yeah,
I just think like it's a bad style matchup to get somebody who's kind of plotting versus somebody who's waiting for somebody to throw a predictable combination. Like if I can see what you have and I'm a master counterpuncher and I'm vicious when I counterpunch, like it's just that ain't a good matchup for you.
Yeah, it would only be two ways I think somebody could beat him. Either somebody possessing a Marvin Hagler like chin or somebody like Aaron Pryor, meaning real high activity. And Spence is neither of those, like versions of those. So very, very difficult matchup. Do you think it'd be any different if they meet at 154?
No.
Not at all.
Do you think he should run it back?
I think he's obligated to. I think it's in the contract. He has to give him the 47, but I don't think that Spence wants to get down to 47. And this is kind of making the message clear. Like, look, I don't really want to fight you. If you really want it, come back down here and get it again. But I don't need to fight you no more. Nobody wants to see the fight anymore. But Dallas Naples. Like, nobody cares because it was too one-sided.
Yeah, it was. It was very one-sided.
Like the rematch.
So do you see Crawford doing what Canelo has done over the last few years, not really worrying about a division, but just kind of floating, looking for the biggest fights he can get in these last twilight years of his career?
I think he has two fights in mind. I think he has Charlo or Canelo, like one of the two. And I think he's gonna pull a Marvin Hagler. I think after that, he's done. I don't see him fighting like I don't think he's gonna fight Boots. And that ain't, I don't want nobody out here who watching to think it's like a scared thing. There's no money in that. He's already worked his way up to this level. It's not like Boots is from Japan and he was making, like, he brings a ton of money and he was like the undefeated guy at 154. There's no money in it. So it's either Charlo or it's Canelo. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think once you get a taste, and we've seen it, like one of my favorite boxing stories, they're just people who make me smile about boxing, is Marcos Maidana. Yeah. Marcos Maidana was a hardcore dude, fought hard fights, fought 3 times a year, 4 times a year. He got that Floyd money. He was like, y'all will never see me again. Like,
and you know what? We have it. Dude went back to his native country, man. He earned, what did he earn? I think he earned like $12 million in that second Floyd fight. I mean, he is done. Yeah, so I think it's 2 fights or 1, and that's it. If he fights Spence again, he'll do that fight, and then it's whoever's the winner of this fight coming up. The only thing with this is if Charlo wins, do we fight him at 168, or would be foolish to come down to 154?
If Canelo's gonna be, even though both of these cats is super undisputed, both of these cats are huge names, neither one of them is close to Canelo's money.
True.
They both would want to fight Canelo as many times as they could.
So hello. So you think Bud would still fight Canelo if he lost?
They both want to fight Canelo. They don't want to fight Canelo. They want to fight the fan base. They're trying to fight that paycheck. It's not about.
I don't know though. I think if Charlo wins, Bud's gonna take that fight.
I don't think if Charlo wins, he's in the driver's seat. If Charlo wins, he's in the driver's seat for sure.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why? How though? How? Just because he beat Canelo?
Spence is looked like I'm not gonna say they're making excuses for Spence. It's a huge win, and he's a 2-time.
It's a big win.
For sure. But you're also at 47. Canelo is the cash cow.
No. You keep putting Canelo in. I'm saying if Charlo wins. If Charlo
right. But that's what I'm saying. So Canelo has had these eyes on him for the last decade. Charlo is getting these eyes because he's fighting Canelo. It doesn't mean all these Mexican fans are going to go to him. Like they're still Canelo fans. Canelo's still gonna be like Canelo lost to Bevo and is the cash cow of
Oh
boxing.
no. I'm not saying Canelo will not be who he is. I think he's old school. It's a throwback. But I'm saying if Charlo wins, do you think Bud is going to target him? And if they do, what weight would the fight take place?
I think he'd want the fight. I think for sure he'd want the fight.
And it has a better storyline than him fighting Canelo.
I don't know about the politics of it. Like I'm just gonna be honest. I don't trust the politics of it.
What do you mean? He's a free agent.
Not that they can't make the fight. That over and over, Maul's been saying, I got to fight already. Fight somebody else. You're not at 54. Fight somebody else. Stop talking to me. Like this is the conversation I'm hearing.
But that was before the Spence fight.
He just said it in the press conference. He just said
I haven't seen the press conference.
Yeah, he just said that in the press conference. Like, stop worrying about me. I got to fight already. I'm fighting the biggest fighter. And it's like, he just hasn't given it the energy that you would think.
No, but I think that's smart, though. I think that's smart. He should focus on the task at hand. He shouldn't be thinking about fighting somebody else when he got this man in front of him. But I'm just saying, technically, from our standpoint, if he wins and Bud is going to target him, what weight do you think he should fight him at? And I'm not talking about Bud. I'm talking about Charlo.
68.
Yeah, because he keeps talking about he's going to come down to 154.
Who?
Charlo?
Oh.
I don't know what.
I'm on doing a podcast.
The what?
Hold on for a minute. Hold on. What you say?
He like that sometimes.
I'm simply cut.
Say again?
Neighbor cut him.
Say again?
Oh, I just said it.
Oh, sometimes. All the time.
Right. I'm lucky I got this little time right here.
Who you telling, man?
I'm back.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. No. Charlo Mel has talked about coming down to 154 after this fight. And I'm wondering if that's a smart thing to do if he wins. Like, because I don't think he's coming in at 154. I think he's going to be like 60 plus. I think he's going to put on muscle. I'm like, if he wins that fight, that would be foolish to come back down and wait.
Yeah, he's already
As opposed to, but I didn't know in the press conference he mentioned that.
I just don't. I don't think Canelo. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, CJ.
I don't think Charlo beating Canelo does as much for Charlo as you would think it would.
Oh no! Hold on. All right, I think y'all are getting what I'm saying like confusing. I'm not saying Charlo will turn into some mega superstar. Now, I never believe that. I don't believe.
No, I hear what you're saying. I don't think that either. I'm saying he beats Canelo. It still doesn't put him in the driver's seat.
No, I never said that either. I don't think he's the A side. I'm just saying is if Charlo wins, I believe Mel is going to target him because it's much more historical. I think it's also he'll get a chance to be undisputed again. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the money part. He made a grip fighting Spence, and I think he would make a nice. Now he's not going to make the money he would make if he was fighting Canelo, of course. But I think he would target that more only because he talked about I don't want to fight somebody coming off a loss.
Yeah, it'd be crazy him coming out of there undisputed in 2 divisions.
Yeah, and beating both guys in the same stable. I mean, it's just the storyline would be different. But if Canelo wins, do you think? I mean, of course he would fight him.
Yeah, for sure. Bud will fight. I don't think Bud is scared to fight anybody. He's going for the checks right now. You make a good point. I definitely understand. If Canelo loses, he's not going to want to fight the loser of a fight. It's not as attractive. The money's there, but he's going to wait for it to be at least a compelling storyline.
Right.
I think that would be a dream fight. I'd love to see Charlo versus Bud. I do feel like there's a difference in weight classes for a reason. And it wouldn't be easy. But I'll save what I think about that one for later on.
Yeah, if it ever happens.
Yeah.
If it ever happens. Let's talk about the heavyweight division, which has been very disappointing for boxing. I mean, we've had a lot of stuff going on. What are you guys' thoughts about the division as a whole, considering they've been the only division, I think, that has not had a major fight or has contributed to this year of boxing? which has actually been a strong year.
Yeah.
Thoughts? We'll go with Tyson Fury, since we'll start with him. Go to AJ. Go to AJ Wilder. Well, AJ has been involved. He said he's been carrying the heavyweight division. Do you guys agree or disagree?
At least he's fighting.
Yeah.
True.
The only one fighting.
Yeah.
And
Of the top 5, anyway, he's the only one fighting. Or I
Wait
guess
a minute.
top
Who's who's five? Because would that be
who's number
Joyce?
5?
Yeah, would that be the Zing Zang Bing Bang?
Zhang is knocking people's faces off.
Yeah, he
So,
is. Yeah, he did Joyce that twice.
I
The
was
last fight was even worse than the first one. Do you
But
consider?
it's always like that. It seems like in the heavyweight division lately, all these guys look like gangbusters till they get up to that top echelon, and then we have the same 4 guys at the top that won't fight each other, except for Wilder and Fury.
right.
Right. And neither one of them. Yeah, Wilder doesn't even have a fight on schedule right now. And,
No, I think the Ruiz fight fell apart, right?
right.
Yeah.
And he wanted more money, and so far it just hasn't played out that way for them. All right.
Yeah,
So
it seems like money is so front of conversation in the heavyweight division. Like, it's not even mandatories. I haven't even heard who's a mandatory for who in years.
Years.
yeah,
Like,
the WBC said Tyson Fury doesn't have a mandatory right now, so we don't have to. I'm like, what?
ridiculous.
I'm like, dude, him and Wilder fought well over a year ago. So how can you not have a man? He doesn't have a mandatory. I mean, I get what he's driving at, because he just wants to make a lot of money. But it's like, man, they are just not fighting at all. It's been a little disappointing.
Yeah, sure. I think it kind of, I understood what it was going to be back when Wilder was champ. I feel like Dylan White was #1 contender for 3 years running. Like,
He
I
was.
feel like he was the mandatory forever. And
It was 4 years. They had been mandatory for 4 years.
Dylan White is next up for years. And it was like, so the belts really don't make a difference. Like, you're paying these sanctioning fees, but the sanctioning body isn't doing their job. Like, the sanctioning body is just there to collect a check, it feels like.
Right.
Like, you're not instituting the competitive nature of the division. Like, your job is to be the adult in the room. Like, you got to force people to fight or give up the belt. And it just didn't happen.
That is very true. That is very true.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a guy who does fight. What do you guys think of? Because I think it's the co-feature, Lubin, the Lubin matchup. What do you think about the fight? What do you think about Lubin as a fighter? I mean, I admire him only in the senses that when he does have a loss, normally a get-back fight for him is not an easy tune-up. He always seems to try to go after somebody that's very, very stiff in competition. So what do you expect? What do you think of his opponent? What do you think of the matchup? Or what do you think of Lubin as a fighter? CJ?
I always worry about Lubin because when he loses bad. You know, he looks bad. You know, some fighters lose and you see him. When he loses, he looks bad. He's like, you don't want him to take any more punches. I don't think he's done in that. I don't think he's done by any means, but I always worry about him in that sense because the way he loses bothers me for someone as good as he is. It's probably why he's never been a champion because he gets to the top and he gets his
his last loss was brutal. That was brutal.
Ugly. I'm sad to see.
Yeah, it was. And I think, and if I'm not mistaken, the guy who beat Lubin, isn't he fighting Costa Zoo's son, Tim Zoo?
Yeah, I believe so. The guy who beat Fundora.
Yeah, that should be.
The guy that beat Fundora's fighting Zoo.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good matchup.
And Fundora's the one that knocked out Lubin the last time, right?
Yeah, he beat Lubin up real bad. Yeah,
yeah.
And he was actually winning that fight against, but he just lack of defense. He got caught real clean.
Lubin has sometimes courage can be your worst enemy.
Yeah.
Lubin is skilled. Lubin's super skilled. Like, I think Lubin wins this fight by a good margin. Because I love Lubin's skill. Yeah, I love Lubin's skill. And I feel like Ramos is a bit predictable. Like, Lubin is very athletic.
Right.
By doing something he doesn't think about. He's a skilled boxer.
Yes, he is. But he lets his. I think he allows his emotions to take the best of him.
For sure.
And he gets into a firefight when he doesn't need to, and that's usually proves his undoing. Because I agree with CJ. All of his losses. I mean, I'm not completely shocked about the male. It was just the manner of the way he lost. He got short circuited, and then his last loss. Remember, Jason, I called it. I was like, he's gonna stay there and he's gonna get hit way too much.
He did.
And something just tells me that maybe the same thing with Saturday night. Even though I think his opponent is extremely predictable, it's just that Lupin always seems to get in these firefights with people that he shouldn't get into. But I commend him, man. He always comes back against somebody strong. He never gets away from the smoke at all. I really, really commend him for that. So that's something that takes a lot of courage.
I but no, man, I'm telling you what's going to happen. This one, I can mark it. I don't even got to watch the fight.
Really?
I mean,
you thought that about his last loss, though. Remember?
No, I didn't. Fundora, I didn't. No, I was way more on the fence. I don't think Ramos is athletic, really.
Fedora's not athletic either.
Fundora's 6'10". That's
a good point. That's a good point. That is a good point. Okay, here's a question, general boxing question. If there was something that you could fix with boxing, and you guys were like the universal commissions, what would be the things that you would go about to fix the way boxing is now?
Any one thing or why?
We can do multiple things. We'll do with 3. We'll go with 3 as the limit. What would be some of the things that you would implement to improve the sport of boxing?
I start off. I say I want, first and foremost, there was a pipeline from the school-age kids boxing to the Olympic boxing program to professional boxing. And some of this money that we're getting from these fights would have to go to developing some type of schooling program. Like, it's a reason boxing isn't just dying out because basketball is so popular. Like, there's no access to it. The resources aren't available for kids who want to get involved. It's kids with bad attitudes everywhere. You know, kids who are in tough spots everywhere. If they had a resource, get into a gym somewhere. Like every big city should have a boxing gym just for kids who aren't thriving in school or what have you. Kids who want that outlet. That'd be the first thing I would do. Second, I would definitely make these mandatories real. And like I wouldn't make it so like you're not gonna have your belt. You're gonna fight on the schedule or you're not gonna have a belt. So not only are the mandatories gonna be real, but you're gonna fight at least once a year. At the very least once a year.
Once a year?
At the very, very least once a year.
Okay.
That's maybe with the injury. Preferably 2 times a year. As a champion, we need to see you twice a year. If you're not a champion, if you want that contender status, you have to stay active. Like, I'm not going to have somebody who's got a big name but doesn't fight but once every 3 years keep that number 2 status, where somebody else hustling to get to that spot. And just because they don't sell as many tickets, they're not in that seat. Like, no, just because of your name, you're not going to be at that ranking. Your ranking is going to be contingent on how often you fight.
Okay.
So yeah, that's that. And then I would like to have some type of, my third thing, I would like to have some type of mandatory drug testing. It's too many conversations. It seems like half of the DAZN fighters are getting popped. Like, maybe I shouldn't say specifics, but yeah, like.
Nah, you can. Nah, that's been recent though. That's been recent.
Yeah,
recent.
Yeah. And it's like, come on, man. Like, are they just testing more? Like, how many people are not getting tested and using performance-enhancing drugs? Like, those 3 things I feel like are terrible for the game.
You know what? Some I'm gonna mention because I know we talked about activity. CJ talked about that, and you talked about it.
Yeah.
This is just a theory of mine. I've always thought because of the drugs in boxing, the usage, that's been a reason why a lot of people are not active. Like, when you really look at it, I mean, go in, if you look at the pattern, just I ain't gonna name no names, but if you look at the pattern, you'll see guys who have probably underperformed for like a year and a half, and suddenly they'll have a career high performance. And then suddenly that same fighter is not seen for 6 months. And it's like you got to look at the coincidences with a lot of this stuff. At first, I used to think the theory was like, all right, they're getting paid a lot of money. A lot of guys are getting paid, so they don't have to fight. But when you start to look at it, and then when you hear people, will say about a fighter, well, he's been working really hard and training hard. I'm like, this dude only fights twice a year. How is he? What do you mean? Before, we used to get guys fight a minimum of 4 times a year. They'll get 2 mandatories in, get a showcase fight, and then they'll get a big pay-per-view fight, or they're on a pay-per-view card. We don't see that now. We see dudes fight, and then another thing I don't like is they have a contract. So, like, say me and CJ are supposed to fight, and within the contract, it will state when the drug test is supposed to take place.
Yeah.
How the hell are you catching? See, you gonna catch somebody like that? So it's like, February? No, we can't have it in February. We got to start it in March. And so it's like, why would it be that? It should be once the fight is signed, the testing starts right then and there. And it's just crazy that's the case. Another thing I wish, once people are popped, you gotta prove who your source is, because to me that would expose a lot as well. And I also think the fines are not strong. It's like 6 months. They'll fine somebody like a year. It's like, dude, this dude only fight once a year. So it's like it's nothing that's really left into that. And then when they do it with somebody, it's a fighter on his way out or somebody that they impose 3. It's like, how the hell Conor Ben fighting? Didn't he fight? He just fought this past weekend, and they still ain't got no clarity with his drug testing.
Oh,
crazy, bro. And he's a zone fighter.
You
like,
already know.
Yeah. And what's I mentioned the name, so I don't care. What's the young lady who ended up beating the girl? I forgot her name. I can't remember her name.
Baumgartner? Alicia?
Yeah. Got popped. They said nothing. We ain't heard no investigations. They said they looking into it. It's like, seriously, man.
Yeah, over and over.
Yeah, over and over. Ain't heard nothing. No results. We just know that she had something going on in her system. And the first thing people say is, "Oh, I didn't put anything in my body." It's like, seriously. So it's crazy. I wish they would get more stringent on drug testing, and I wish they would put other champions would be in the rankings. So if you're a WBO champion, you'll get a ranking in everybody else's division. So you can force unification fights a little bit more as opposed to guys sitting on their belts. A third thing is, I wish boxing treated itself like a real sport. You know how we know when basketball is around, football is around, and all of that. Boxing is a universal sport. It should be more like how tennis is, because tennis is played year round. Boxing should be more like that. And I wish they did do that. And I wish they got into network money as opposed to these streaming platforms like being on ABC, CBS, NBC. I mean, I know it's a lot to ask because the way everything is fractured, people don't really want to work together. But I wish we had like something that was like a universal commission. It would help boxing out a lot. Those are just a few things. CJ?
I only got one thing, because both of you said one of my things. We need to do something about some kind of universal training for judges and accountability for judges.
Bro, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And you know what else about that with the judging? Promoters should not be allowed to pick the judges because sometimes that's in their contract as well. And they host judges. They'll host them. They'll have them hosted. So
that's when it goes back to what you said about a universal body that oversees boxing. The same way that they would be the ones that pick referees for big fights, and no one else would know who the refs were, until the fight. I mean, you don't need to know who the ref is going into the fight.
Exactly. Do you think it's incompetence or it's corruption?
Corruption.
I think it has a lot to do with corruption for sure.
Yeah.
To be honest, because you've been a judge for 60 years, man. Why you so long? Like your skills ain't what it be.
And corruption loves incompetence, so might be a little bit of both.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So who's corrupt? The people picking them? Or do you think the judges are? Or you think the judges are incompetent?
I think judges will fold to certain pressures.
That's
And
a good
I'm going to say this. I'm going to be fair. I don't think that's uncommon across all sports.
True indeed.
That's true.
I
Yeah,
just
that's
don't.
true.
Certain people get certain treatment in certain sports. I don't think it's any different in boxing at times.
That is true.
And you get to know judges over time. Like as you hear judges' scorecards, there's fighters who just like a come forward, aggressive style. They just that over and over again. Like you can learn these patterns. I feel like the general public isn't looking that closely at boxing, but you see, there's judges who appreciate a certain style. If I get three boxers, three judges who like my style, it don't even got to be specifically corrupt. Like it's the cards are just set up for me in the first place.
You know what though? You bring up a good point. I remember when Felix Trinidad, no, when De La Hoya fought Pernell Whitaker, and the judges, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2 to 3 judges on there. They gave the fight to De La Hoya. Some people said Whitaker won it. They had the same judges when he fought Felix Trinidad. And once again, you had another guy going forward, and they rewarded him for a fight that a lot of people said De La Hoya won. So you're right about that too. If you're picking, because some people don't judge body punching. Some people look at it if you're more and not going forward, they rule that against you. And you're right about that. And I hate when people say this, but I wonder if judges think this. He didn't take it away from the champion. And it's just like, as far as I know, everybody's 0-0. You don't give extra points just because a guy have a belt. But a lot of fans think that. I hear a lot of people always say that. And that's like one of the biggest myths in boxing to me. It's like, what do you mean he didn't take it away? As far as I know, they fight 12 rounds. The guy who's won the most rounds is the guy who's the winner. It's not
exactly.
This guy doesn't get extra points just because he's a champion.
Right. I don't believe in that. I don't believe momentum carries from round to round.
I agree. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, it should. You should try to. If you got a guy hurt, you should, as a fighter, should carry it. But yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of myths, what do you guys think are like some of the other big myths in boxing, or the misconceived notions in boxing? But you hear it a lot.
What I see a lot of times, and I hate it. I'll talk to people about it. Like you'll call a fighter washed. You'll call a fighter done for because they take a loss. And it's like this man been training for 20 years. He's a professional. He might have lost a fight, but you can't just say he's gonna lose the rest of his fights because he lost this one night. Like, so the myth of, one dude getting his heart taken or getting his will broken, like it may have happened in rare instance, but these dudes are professional. They chose to be warriors. They ain't signed up to be broken men. Like I don't feel like they have that. I don't feel like they get broken as easily as people think. I respect each fighter for getting into the ring. It takes a lot to be willing to put your life on the line for this sport. So, yeah, I don't like when people just write off these top-level elite champions because they lose a fight.
And then give me an example of someone like that you saw that people were kind of like writing this person off, and it was a wrong narrative.
That it was a wrong narrative?
Right, based on your claim. Like where you've heard someone say, oh, this guy's washed, and you're just like, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, I've seen fighters like Ugas had 3 losses, came back to spank Pacquiao. Ugas is a fighter who should have been on the bottom of the card. He shouldn't have made another top card ever. Then he came up, gave Porter the fight of his life, came up, beat Pacquiao. It's like if the boxing system worked the way it was supposed to, he'd be fighting in Topeka, Kansas. But he got a shot, and look at him. Like he showed up. So you can't just look at records and say this dude is done for.
Yeah, but a lot of the casuals today are obsessed with the O.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, if you're a great fighter, you keep fighting enough great fighters, you're gonna take some losses.
For sure.
That's just the way it is. You're gonna take some losses. It's rare for a guy to run through a murderous row and come away with a 0. That's like very, very rare.
I agree.
Very rare.
And that's why I respect Canelo for being out here like this.
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing. This notion that people get robbed, like fights just aren't close. You know,
Yeah.
this guy got robbed. Oh, he got robbed. No, the fight can be scored a number of different ways, man.
Yeah.
What was
like
what was a fight that was like that though recently? Give me an example of something where it was a close fight. People was like, oh, it was a robbery, and we're like, oh, come on, it was a close fight.
who was that just fought?
Lomachenko robbery for Lomachenko over and over again.
Oh, you talking about the Devin? Yeah, the Devin fight.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a close fight. That fight could have went either way.
Yeah, but it was no robbery.
Yeah, that wasn't a robbery. That was just a clean, competitive fight that to me could have went either way. I mean, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because is it me or does people just seem to hate Devin? And I don't mean everybody, but it's just like, okay, first he's called the email champion. That was not his fault. Like they franchised Lomo. He fought for a belt. A lot of guys have interim belts, but they don't get called an email champion. So he gets the email champion. Then he fights the guy that Teofimo Lopez couldn't beat, and he did it back to back. And then he fights Lomachenko, and he still gets disrespected.
Yeah.
So I just think he's probably the most, out of all the guys out there, he's the most disrespectful. Like they just totally diminish all of his accomplishments. And I think the fight against Regis is going to be very interesting. I think that's very winnable for him. And Regis thinks like he's just going to step on him. You know, and it's just interesting about that.
I don't think fighters supposed to say they're scared. You know, fighters go in thinking they're going to win.
I think some guys are apprehensive. I don't mean scared, but they know this is going to be a difficult fight.
Also depends on the role you're playing in the fight. Not every fight is meant for you to win. It depends on who you are.
Yeah, I think if they fight Arthur at 175, that's a hard fight. I think people realize there's some people who realize that's going to be a difficult fight because of who he is, the violent nature of he is. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes the narrative has changed because I don't think Stevie Fulton thought it was going to end that way. But you thought so? Hold on.
I know. I'm like Jay. I thought Fulton was going to win.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I didn't think Stevie thought it was going to end that way, in that manner. I was shocked. I'm not going to lie.
I think early in the fight, he figured out which way it was going.
It didn't take long.
Was you guys surprised at the way it went out?
When you how it unfolded? You expect him to win? Yeah, like it was surprising for me, but that's boxing.
Yeah, it is. It is. But when was the last time you were surprised in that manner? I mean, I guess a week later.
Yeah. 7 days.
I know you said it. I know you said it was going to be easy. I'm not going to lie, Jason. I thought it was going to be competitive. And around the middle of the round, I thought something was going to change. Like something shocking was going to, but I didn't think it was going to be.
I thought that fight was swinging towards Spence right until the first knockdown. Because Spence was trying to bully him. You remember he was trying to push him up against the ropes.
Right.
And that's when the first knockdown came. And I was like, ugh, that's not good.
Yeah, it just kind of went downhill since then. Of the fighters of today, the top fighters of the day, who are the guys that you can pick and think can fight in any era?
Bud for sure.
Yeah.
Bud for sure. I'll always be a Chocolatito fan. It's a smaller weight, but I'm a huge fan of Chocolatito.
Great fighter. Yeah, great fighter.
I put Chocolatito win with anybody.
I think for what he does, Wilder could fight in any era. For what he does.
No, I agree. That's the second most disrespected man in boxing, in my opinion.
He is what he is. You know, if you can escape, and few have. People don't leave the ring. Yeah, just one. No, I think Berman Stavern went all the way with him once.
Yeah, and he
but
about to get knocked down.
Yeah, he
about to get knocked down. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's only one guy that's beat him, and that guy's an anomaly. You broke down about Fury. You was talking about he's a 400-pound gypsy dude, and even then, Wilder's what 215 at his 220 at his best. And he's been out
best. That's his best. That's his athletic best.
Yeah, he's fighting a dude 80 pounds bigger, and he still hurt him each fight. Yeah, I agree. I think he can fight in any era, like any era. Athletic, explosive.
I don't think what Canelo does translates to any era.
Not at all.
I don't think it can translate at all to any era.
Really?
No. And what weight? Yeah, I don't see what weight he could translate.
Yes.
Like,
I mean,
so hold on. Well, let's start out. Pick a weight. Pick any of the weights, like whatever weight you guys pick, and I'm gonna like compare.
Let's say 60. Middleweight is easy.
Okay, so we'll go 60. All right, so let's get rid of Triple. All right, what eras are we talking here? Triple G's era? Because Triple G came before him, kind of in the middleweight.
Right. Let's talk about Hopkins era.
Hopkins' era?
Definitely not Jones's era.
Yeah.
Hold on. I think Jones is staying at 160 too long. But I think, oh damn, Jason dropped. I guess he'll be back. Of the Bernard era, I think he's competitive, and he may beat all those guys except Bernard.
Calzaghe?
But Calzaghe was 175. And Calzaghe never fought in middleweight. He fought super.
I thought Calzaghe was 168.
No, Bernard didn't fight him at 168. He fought him
Calzaghe.
No. I don't think he beats Calzaghe at 168. But he stayed middleweight. So I'm like looking at the guys that Bernard fought at middleweight.
Okay.
I think he can be competitive against those guys. I don't believe he beats Bernard Hopkins. He definitely doesn't beat James Toney. He don't beat Hagler. But Terry Norris? I love Terry, but
yeah, I see you.
Simon Brown clipped him.
Yeah.
Julian Jackson? No. Gerald McCullough? No. But some of the other guys, I think he'd be competitive.
Iran Barkley?
You know
it's a tough fight.
You know what? I think it's a tough fight, but I think he can be competitive in that fight. Only because Iran is like so wild at times.
Right.
But I do think it's a tough fight. If he can act like James Toney, I think he can win the fight. But that's a violent man, boy. Yeah. Iron Barkley is a violent dude. But no, I think he can translate. I'll say this. I think he'll have much more harder fights. Bernard Hopkins is a hard. Roy Jones, hard fight. That's not even remotely. I don't think that's competitive. Not at 168.
I think there's a version of Canelo and Roy Jones that if they meet at the right time, maybe Canelo can do something. But
you mean when Roy was more on the decline?
The post. Yeah,
Tarver.
The post Harvard Jones, because he'd already been up to heavyweight by then and back, right?
Right.
Okay,
and that kind of took a lot out of him. You're right, but then again, you got to think how small Canelo is. Roy probably just wins that because of the length and speed, because he doesn't have a lot of distance, and he got to close the range. Tarver was like he was super big.
Yeah.
But I think Canelo translates. I think at 154 he translates better though, because considering some of the guys at 154. Do you believe he believes Jermaine Taylor?
Ooh.
I think Jermaine had flaws. Like 154 is not a star-studded division.
Right. So let's go up to 160. Jermaine Taylor.
Can Canelo? Yeah, I think he could compete with Jermaine for sure.
Winky Wright.
I think he loses to Winky.
You think so? Felix Trinidad.
Loss.
That's a tough fight, though, man. That's at 160. That's a tough one. I already said he don't beat Bernard Hopkins. I don't believe he beats Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns. I do believe he'll get Terry Norris, though. I just think I think Terry reacted badly to punches. But I think he's competitive. I don't think he's as dominant as he is now, but I do think he'll be competitive. Shakur Stevenson.
I like him. I got to see more from Shakur. I like him though. From what I've seen, he's one of my favorite fighters out right now. We just got to see more action from him. He's passed his test so far though.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's gonna have an opportunity to ever get a big fight.
He has a better opportunity than Boots.
Elaborate.
He got more directions he can go. There are 4 big fights in Shakur's area, at least 4 decent fights. Nobody wants to fight Boots. That's not going anywhere. It's a non-starter for most people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I mean, there's a scenario if he's willing to, acquiesce on some of the money, Shakur, where he can get a number of fights, but he wants 50-50 money with champions, and that's not getting that.
He seemed like he's willing to defer with Tank, though. At least that's what he's saying.
Yeah, I think he would, but to Tank, that's a high risk, low reward fight. I don't know if Tank if he gets much more than he gets with Pitbull.
Yep.
Like I don't know if Tank gets more money, but it's way riskier fight.
Even with Shakur, Tank's the A side.
Yeah, he is. He said that.
Yeah.
He said that. Yeah, I wish they would fight a little bit more. I mean, it's just not happening right now with the younger, the lower weight divisions. It would be very interesting. But if it did, I know it's too early. I don't even want to talk about it. I really want to talk about it, but I don't want because we haven't seen enough of them. But do you think out of all of the guys in the lower weight division, who do you believe is going to be the last man standing from 135 to 140?
I think it's going to be Tank.
Yeah, I think Shakur. I love his game.
I love his game too. I love his boxing style. But when it comes down to it, sooner or later, Tank catches everybody.
Yeah, that's true. And
it is what it is.
He hasn't folded anybody yet. What about Gary Russell's younger brother?
One of the Gary Russells?
The third one.
Gary Anton. Okay.
Yeah. Very talented kid. He's at 140, right?
Well, yeah, he's at 140.
Yeah, he's at 140. I wish he would be more active. Yeah, I think he's a talented fighter. Be more active. I know his brother was talking about he used the cheat code towards Boots, but then he backtrailed and he was like, "Well, they're fighting about 3 years." I'm like, "Bro, by the time that happened, Boots gonna be up at 160. Your brother not gonna fight him now. He just because he got a couple of wins on him in the averages, I don't think that's gonna happen right now."
I will say I don't think Boots. I love Boots' game. I like Boots' style. I don't think Boots a man. You know what I mean? Boots has flaws. Like I've watched him fight. Boots has flaws, and right now he's really young with it. So
what flaws?
Takes punches.
He takes punches. He plays around in the ring. Like he plays with his food. Like,
yeah, but so far that's been against. I think it's like this. I think the level of danger will cause him to rise up where he'll be more mindful. I do think he does. Yeah, I know. He does take punches, but I think that's more so because he's a killer. He's trying to look for punches. He's sadistic, man. Like that last fight, he was just mean with it.
I see him do things like throw lead uppercuts, though. Like, I don't like that. Even if you're just playing because this guy's not good, that could create a habit. Like, you could start thinking that a lead uppercut is the right move versus a dangerous man, and then make you pay for it. Like, I just don't. I've never liked somebody who really hot dogs often. Like I was a Roy Jones fan, so I'm not gonna have a double standard.
Yeah, I was about to say
I'm not gonna have a double standard. But until I see Boots in with the level, like Roy Jones tested himself and showed who he was versus the top of the top. Like Boots is doing it before he gets there. I can't give him the respect I gave Roy Jones after he earned it from me.
Yeah, but Roy was the A side at that time. He had a chance to, like, I agree with CJ. Ain't nobody want to fight Boots. Like, he's not going to get, I said 3 years ago, he wasn't going to fight Crawford or Spence. Like, I didn't believe that was ever going to happen. I was like, he going to have to fight for a vacated title. And Victor Ortiz, who looked like, well, Virgil Ortiz, who looked like somebody he could potentially fight that could be big if that's not gonna happen either. Like that fight's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
I thought that would have happened. Like that could have been a big fight for them, but man, that's not gonna happen. Honestly, I agree with CJ. I think Boots is gonna be like Terrence Crawford and Bernard Hopkins. He's just gonna have to fight the best guys he can fight and hope he can just move up. And even then, when I look at the horizon, all the guys that could test him, they're gonna probably be moving on. Like, because Crawford's not fighting him. I have no problem with that. Do we really want to see him against Spence? Like, even if it was at 150? I mean, I think that would be one-sided. No disrespect to Earl.
I don't know if it'd be one-sided.
I think it would be. Like,
I have to break him down. Errol's still a champ.
Yeah, he a champ, but man, he looked real old in that fight.
Bud is a different type of fighter.
No, I'm not denying that. But I just think one guy gets off much quicker. Like, I just think this would be a youth thing. I think youth would play itself. Like, you would see it majorly. I really
against Spence?
Yeah. If it's Boots fighting Spence.
I think Spence still has something left in the tank.
I do too.
I'm not going to count Spence out and just say Boots goes up to 150 and manhandles him or something. Well, if he did, it would be probably more to say about Spence than it would to say about Boots. I mean,
yeah, the thing is, I just think the last fight, and of course, I have to see him fight since then. That was just a really bad beating, and he didn't look physically strong. I give all credit to Terrence. It ain't got nothing to do with any of that. And I just think coming after that, do you want to fight somebody young? Like of that type of talent. I just think that could be a difficult, like really difficult fight.
Experience does something. Like what Errol does very well is what Boots hasn't dealt with yet.
Of course.
And that's just real pressure. Banging the body. Like there is a blueprint that's been put out there, but everybody can't follow that blueprint.
Right? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you on that. I just think this will be a youth thing. I think it's a difference in youth, speed, quickness. I think it would be super difficult. And I think with I think sometimes, unless it's a competitive fight, when your veil of invincibility is taken away, everybody's gonna fight you even harder now. And I think this would be a big time, but we'll see what happens. But unless you guys got something else to talk about, we can wrap it up. Any closing thoughts? I do appreciate you guys jumping on Thursday night.
I'll talk to you on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, shout out to Topeka, Kansas, man. No shade.
My bad. All love, Topeka. It's all love, Topeka.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Oh,
yeah, we definitely gonna talk. Oh, well, you know what? I have this question. What would shock you? Because we did talk about the two bigger fights that just happened. Would there be any outcome that would shock you from Saturday night's fight? Not necessarily what happened, like winner or loser, but how it could happen. But I guess CJ's thing would be good, a knockout.
I would be surprised if it goes the distance.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I would be surprised if Charlo does not touch the canvas once. I'd be surprised by that. Not saying he's going to get knocked out, but I'd be surprised if he does not get hit and dropped one time at least.
If he gets hit and dropped, do you think he finishes him?
Canelo? No, not really. It depends on where it is in the round. It depends on like what the situation is.
I mean, the guys he fought at 168, I'm not gonna say they were like pound for. They were all really good fighters, and he like hurt all of those guys.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, and we would consider Billy Shoes more like a cutie, Caleb a cutie. Smith just quit. I just think he just wanted to compete at
He
all.
wasn't ready for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just went into a shell.
Mhm.
You know, Charlo's there to get hit. So, but you'll be surprised if he doesn't touch the canvas. All right. And you're surprised if it goes the distance. All right. Well, hey, y'all put it out there. I appreciate, man, y'all sparing this time on a Thursday out of all nights. Appreciate my brothers doing this. We would definitely have to do it again. So I guess until next time, we'll talk. All right, fellas. Thank you.
All right.